as fine as he can be. I met him at the big barn dance, and he took a shine to me. Sky blue eyes, a big white smile, and tall as a sycamore tree. He's real smart with a real big heart, and he's gonna marry me. He's gonna marry me, and we're gonna go to town. We're gonna buy us a real good car, and we're gonna drive around. We'll hold hands, touch and hug. He talks so sweet to me, 'cause he knows a lot about love and stuff, and he's gonna marry me.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. It's going to be a beautiful day here in Southern California.
I love that Dolly song. And I did marry you.
I did marry you. It's just so happy.
Right?
It just really, really is. She has the sweetest voice in country music.
It's the way to start the morning.
Yeah, and this is good old-fashioned bluegrass. I love me some bluegrass music.
Yes, you do.
All right. So it's been, I've been thinking about our show yesterday.
Yes.
Dealing with human trafficking, and this idea that the women and some men who find themselves, and girls and boys who find themselves in situation have become throwaway in our culture, in our communities, and they're people. They're not throwaways.
So, for me, I kept thinking about a friend of mine. 20 plus years ago, early in my teaching career, I worked with an older gentleman who had a teenage daughter who disappeared. Basically had a boyfriend, ran off, and took several months for the family to find her and get her back. And she was being trafficked. It was a guy who'd gotten, this girl had some issues, and he got her into bad stuff. And I watched what they went through as a family, and the stress and the strain, and
oh my gosh,
it was
how
terrible.
How old was she? Do you remember?
I want to say 14 or 15. She was young.
Oh my gosh,
she was young. And it just put a lot of strain on the family as they, dealt with this. Now, they got her back, and as far as I know, she went on to live a fine and productive life. But this was a very dark time.
Well, and the trauma inflicted by that has to be with her forever.
Yes.
And I think, I think there's a disconnect. Somebody looks fine, we think that they are fine. And I'm not saying you necessarily. And very often they're not. I mean, and this kind of segues into the first article that I wanted to talk about, which is the sex abuse scandal in the Catholic Church, which has reared its ugly head again. And, people think, well, it's just sex, they're fine, they'll get over it. But those are forever scars.
Yeah.
Forever scars. And, we're gonna talk about this in just a second, but I want to ask the question before we do: Is it time for the Catholic Church to allow their priests to marry, where stable men who are married and love the church can then become priests?
Yeah.
I think that the church has attracted deviance. And I say that maybe they go in with good intentions. I'm just going to not have, since I have those urges, I'm going to go into the church and I'm not going to act upon them. I will be celibate. And they go in with the best intentions, but are not able to combat their worst desires. Yeah. And then they're surrounded by other people who have done the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think it exacerbates the sickness and the evil.
I think you might be right. And I, as I read these stories, it just breaks my heart. I wish that the church had taken a much sort of stronger position right from the beginning, from the very top as these stories came out, and just, said, we're going to do the full mea culpa, and we're going to get rid of every one of these people, and we're going to
excommunicate them.
Excommunicate. And whatever documentation we have, whatever evidence we have, we'll turn over to the civil authorities, recognizing this as the evil that it is. But it's been very kind of a slow roll where, it seems that even today that there's folks that are still sort of in the cover-up mode, right? And it's journalists that are by and large uncovering lots of this and then bringing it to the civil authorities, the police, who are then beginning the really difficult job of digging into it, and it isn't easy. It takes a long time. This is why it's still dragging out. Years later, since we heard the first stories, and now we've got this one from Pennsylvania, 300 accused predator priests. It's I mean,
and
ridiculous.
more than 1,000 child victims.
Yeah, and they believe that, it's a quote here from the grand jury. We believe that the real number of children whose records were lost or who were afraid to come forward is in the thousands. So it could be much, much worse than this, because there's a bunch of folks that are living in shame, right, who will never come forward because they don't want people to know what they endured. And the church destroyed documents. They, like I said, they were covered up.
And you think about especially in the Catholic Church, as opposed to some Protestant churches where there are more lay ministers or whatever. In the Catholic Church, these men wear robes. You're supposed to call them Father. They're supposed to be the intercessor between you and God, right? So you go to confession for them to hear your confession, acting as a proxy for the Lord, right?
Yeah.
And so the place in a Catholic society that the priest and the hierarchy hold is tremendous, especially before all of these stories started breaking, where there was this tremendous trust, and he was the priest. Why would you fear him? He's a man of God, that this is an egregious breach of trust by the church. And I don't think that they've really gotten their arms around how damaging this has been to them as an institution.
Yeah. And I think you're right in terms of moving forward, that, allowing priests to marry, it may be a solution. It seems like right now they're kind of in an intermediary stage of that, where you see a lot of local churches sort of elevating the, and I'm just going to blank on the name. It was in my head, now it's
deacon?
gone. The deacon, thank you. Elevating deacons who are married men to do a lot of roles that the priests were doing. And I suspect if they ever do allow priests to be married, a lot of those deacons would fairly quickly become ordained.
Right. It just seems to me that there are a lot of men in the Catholic Church who would step up and serve, who already feel the calling to serve. And if they have families, then personally, as a woman, I'm not a Catholic, but personally as a woman, I would feel better going to a pastor who has a wife and children and understands the dynamics of a family better than a man who doesn't.
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't heard the story, 300 accused predator priests they uncovered some documents from the grand jury, or these documents have been released. And a scathing Pennsylvania grand jury report released Tuesday reveals decades of child abuse allegations against more than 300 accused predator priests, as well as claims that the Roman Catholic Church leaders covered up the crimes and obstructed justice in order to avoid scandal.
Yeah.
More than 1,000 child victims were identifiable from the church's own records, according to the report. We believe that the number of children whose records were lost or who were afraid to ever come forward is in the thousands, and that's what Tobin had mentioned. Today, Pennsylvanians can learn the extent of sexual abuse in the diocese for the first time, and we can begin to understand the systematic cover-up by the church leaders that followed. And this is according to Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro at a news conference in Harrisburg on Tuesday. The deadline set for the state Supreme Court for the release of the 884-page report with some of the names of the accused clergy temporarily redacted. Let me be clear, my office is not satisfied with the release of a redacted report, he said. Every redaction represents an incomplete story of abuse that deserves to be told. So among the horrific findings in the grand jury report, a ring of predatory priests that allegedly manufactured child porn on diocese property using whips, violence, and sadism on their victims. The same group of priests gave boys they favored gold cross necklaces, which the report states were a signal to other predators that the children that were optimal targets for further victimization. So basically, they groomed them and got them all ready and primed, and gave them the cross as a way, you're now really following God. Here, let me give you this cross. And what it really was it was essentially a brand.
Yeah.
They lack of discipline for priests who admitted to abuse. A priest who confessed to raping at least 15 boys, some as young as 7. God. A bishop later said that the priest was a person of candor and sincerity and complimented him for the progress he has made in controlling his, quote, addiction, unquote. Then there's a priest who quit after years of child abuse complaints and asked for and received a reference letter for his next job at Walt Disney World.
Right.
So everybody, all the businesses and schools and everybody who works with children, everybody has to be live scanned, right? So if you work anywhere near the kids, you have to have your fingerprints on record so that if you get arrested, then the institution where you're working or volunteering knows what happened, right? And so because these, not only he got a good reference, they were never fingerprinted. That never followed them. So when Disney World hired them, they had no reason to believe, hired this guy, they had no reason to believe that he would be a problem. I wonder if Disney, if there was any assault, and I'm just walking down a mental path, if that priest attacked any children on Disney property, does Disney have the right to go back then and sue the Catholic Church?
Yeah, I don't know.
Now that would be a clash of the titans,
right? Yeah, it's terrible, and I agree that this idea that there are all these redactions in this report, essentially covering up the names of some of these priests, what good does that do? What good does that do to say that this happened, but then don't tell us who did it?
Yeah.
Especially if these folks are still in service.
How is this legal?
Yeah.
How is this not racketeering? How is this not a racket?
Yeah.
This is a ring. And I mean that's what the grand jury report called it. So
and apparently the Catholic Church had a secret vault where they kept all of the documentation of this stuff. I mean, so they knew this was bad, toxic stuff. They segregated out these files, this information, and kept it under a different lock and key so that people wouldn't find it, wouldn't stumble upon it.
So one of the bishops that was, because this was all over the state of Pennsylvania, one of the bishops was interviewed and said, why are we still talking about this? This happened decades ago. I really don't think it's a problem. And by the way, that bishop who was active in covering it up was promoted. He's now a cardinal.
Yeah.
So not only was he not disciplined for harboring pedophiles and violent child predators, he was promoted. I don't understand.
No, I don't either. I really don't.
And it puts Catholics who are devout and loving and faithful in the terrible, terrible position of having to defend the indefensible.
Yeah.
It hurts everyone. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we will be right back.
For several years, KCAA has been marketing the Youngevity brand of nutritional and personal care products. Our experience with Youngevity has been 100% positive, so we are pleased to recommend them to you. Regarding nutritional supplements, we recommend Pollen Burst in the berry flavor and Tangy Tangerine 2.0 in the tablet form. For regularity issues, we recommend 3-Day Cleanse, and for personal care, we recommend Morning Hydration Cream. You can shop online for Youngevity at www.kcaateam.com, or you can order by phone by calling 800-982-3197 and tell customer support that you are part of the KCAA team. Youngevity is an American company based in San Diego. Call Youngevity at 800-982-3197 and ask about monthly auto ship that allows you to buy Youngevity products at wholesale prices. That number again, 800-982-3197.
Turner's Fine Carpets is a family-owned business providing generations of great service. They specialize in carpeting, laminate flooring, installation, and satisfied customers. Turner's Fine Carpets is locally owned and operated by Dad, Larry Turner, along with his son, Dan, who works side by side in the office with the help from their loyal employee, Frankie. Before Larry, it was Dennis Turner, Larry's dad, who started this family-owned business. With 3 generations and nearly 60 years of experience serving the same community we all grew up in, Turner's Fine Carpets Carpets must be doing something right. They serve Yucaipa and all the surrounding areas of the Inland Empire. You can find Turner's Fine Carpets of Yucaipa on Yelp. For a direct quote, Turner's is located at 35168 Yucaipa Boulevard in Yucaipa, just above California Street, or at 909-797-6100. That's 909-797-6100. Or Google Turner's Fine Carpets of Yucaipa.
If you or a loved one was seriously injured in an accident with a semi-truck or an 18-wheeler truck, you need to act fast. I'm attorney Daniel Rudbari. I know how to fight truck companies. Call me 800-325-1454 for your free consultation. 800-325-1454. Truck accident cases are different than an auto versus auto accident. There are so many more issues involved when dealing with a truck accident case. There are federal regulations and state regulations, several different companies that may be involved. I can immediately gather the evidence, get you the medical care you need with no deductible and no copay to you, and get you the compensation and the money you deserve for your injuries. And if there's no recovery, there's no fees charged to you. I'm attorney Daniel Rudbari. I know how to fight truck companies. Call me 800-325-1454 for your free consultation. 800-325-1454.
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California, we are KCAA.
Baby, what do you say we just get lost? Leave this one-horse town like two rebels without a cause. I've got people in Boston, ain't your daddy still in Des Moines? We can pack up tomorrow, tonight let's flip a coin.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Such a happy song.
Right?
Just makes you want to take a road trip. Of course, we already are in California, so why don't we make it Tails, Colorado?
Well, it's Carolina.
Well, no, Heads Carolina, Tails, California.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Carolina and California.
Right. So we're already in California, so why don't we make it Colorado? Heads Carolina, tails Colorado.
Okay, but the other side of the coin was Carolina.
Oh, my God.
Am I missing something?
Yes, you are.
Why aren't we going to Carolina? I got family there. I like Carolina. You want to go to Colorado.
Yeah, so I was just singing, thinking of a new way to sing the song.
Okay. I like the two choices. I like Carolina and California. They're both beautiful.
I got it.
I got people I love in both places.
Oh my gosh. So now I don't love your family?
Oh my God. You see what I put up with people? How she fights me every morning?
Yeah, I'm so evil that way.
Oh my goodness.
So the LA County Fair is here. Woo!
Yay.
It starts in September, and or actually I think it starts the end of August. So as summer again wraps up in SoCal, except that it won't be cool until Halloween, the LA County Fair's end of summer concert series is just about to get started. The all-new roster of shows features a variety of talent, including country stars Kane Brown and Dustin Lynch, rockers Joan Jett and the Blackhearts with Cheap Trick, Bad Company, and Grand Funk Railroad. There's also a night of funk and R&B with War and Tower of Power, big names in the Latin music such as Luis Fonsi and Ramon Ayala, and there will be a special evening of hits with Southern California darlings, the Beach Boys.
What's that song that Luis Fonsi sings, Erin?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Oh, is he Despacito?
Yes.
Is he the Despacito guy?
We love that song.
Desperate Cheeto. Okay. That would be Randy Rainbow.
Yes, I know.
So the music starts on Friday, August 31st and runs on select dates through Sunday, September 23rd. All shows begin at 7:30 p.m. and ticket prices range from $44 to $165 and are available at Ticketmaster.com. Tickets include same-day admission to the LA County Fair. As a special promotion, a limited number of free concert tickets will be available at the ticket kiosk located on Rose Lane beginning at 2 p.m. on concert days, with the exception of Gabriel Iglesias on Sunday and Nicky Jam on Sunday, September 9th, and Nicky Jam on Sunday, September 16th. These tickets are first come, first served, and everyone wanting a single ticket must be present.
Yes. So no free tickets for Fluffy.
So you got to see Fluffy.
He's funny.
He is funny. So am I reading this right? Free tickets doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but it's a limited number. I mean, they're just giving out a few. It's a way to get some energy, get some excitement, get people coming out.
Yeah, I am reading it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like fun. They're gonna have Casey and the Sunshine Band, Lost 80s Live. That's a bust out the Aquanet hairspray and all things neon. The 80s are back for one night only, courtesy of Lost 80s Live tour featuring A Flock of Seagulls, Wang Chung, Missing Persons, Barrington, and Man, the original vocalist of When in Rome.
I love it. You know, when I was a kid, the Orange Show used to be like that. We used to have big name people come out and do concerts for the Orange Show. These are not the big bands today, but I saw Alabama, a country western group Alabama. I saw the Oak Ridge Boys. For comedians, I saw George Burns. Remember
Did you
George
really?
Burns? And this is like at the height of the movies,
wow.
the Oh God movies.
When you were a
doing.
kid.
When I was a kid. And at the Orange Show, and the place was packed, and he was hilarious. It was great.
So seeing, I don't know, should we go see Fluffy?
I would love to see Fluffy.
So it sounds like great fun. The only thing wrong with the LA County Fair is that it's a bazillion degrees outside.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I mean, it's a lot of fun, especially if you need to go buy a spa, do it at the fair.
Right.
That's
the
time. They do. They have deals. Well, they sell other things besides spas, but I always remember the spa enclosures.
They have the world's best selection of deep fried everything.
And do you remember those ads for the LA County Fair where they had like the really vapid LA teenager going, like confused about what a fair was and livestock, what's that? And it's just absolutely hilarious.
I love a good fair. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, again, I was in FFA, and I took my pig to the fair to show my pig at the fair with the livestock. That was so cool.
Was it? Did you sell your pig?
I did. There's so many good memories of going to the fair.
So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we will be, I'm still playing music. We will be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
News on KCAA is brought to you by Ontario International Airport. What's one of the easiest things to do in Southern California? Fly nonstop from Ontario International Airport. Now you can fly direct to Guadalajara, Taipei, and Orlando, and soon to New York. The SoCal So Easy way. Ontario International Airport. SoCal So Easy.
NBC News Radio, I'm John Jeffries. The White House is revoking the security clearance of ex-CIA Director John Brennan.
Mr. Trump decided to take this action, as he's done with others, to try to intimidate and suppress any criticism of him or his administration.
Brennan told NBC News he wanted Americans to know about how President Trump is failing in his role as president. In announcing the move yesterday, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders accused Brennan of lying to the American public on a variety of sensitive issues. She added Brennan has made a series of unfounded and outrageous statements about the Trump administration. Sanders went on to say President Trump is also considering revocation of other security clearances. Jurors began deliberating Paul Manafort's bank and tax fraud case today. The jury heard closing arguments yesterday. Manafort is facing more than a dozen charges of fraud and money laundering. John Jeffries, NBC News Radio.
It's Time for traffic on KCAA. I'm Erin Brinker. In Moreno Valley, we still have that SIG alert on Gilman Springs Road, both eastbound and westbound between Jackrabbit Trail and Gato del Sol Avenue. A fatal crash has Gilman Springs Road closed in both directions. Gilman Springs Road North is heavy from Bridge Street. Gilman Springs South is jammed for more than a half a mile. A possible alternate route, use Highway 79 to go around this. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. In Glen Helen, on the 15 northbound before Glen Helen Parkway, there's a SIG alert. A wreck with a tractor trailer on its side has all lanes blocked. Stop traffic is backed up from Sierra Avenue. Traffic is able to get by using the center divider. In Rialto, on the 210 westbound at Sierra, a wreck with a car against the center divider is on the right shoulder. Slow traffic is backed up from West Ayala. In Chino, on the 60 westbound at Central Avenue, an accident has been cleared. Slow traffic is still backed up from Grove Avenue. And in Riverside, on the 91 westbound after Magnolia, a two-vehicle wreck is now already along the right shoulder. Slow traffic is backed up from La Sierra, and traffic stays slow to Green River Road. The 71 south is heavy from before Euclid down to the 91. This has been your traffic report on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Alvin Washington. Mostly sunny this morning, a high of 94. Partly cloudy, windy this evening, low 70. Sunny, hot and windy Friday, a high of 96. And mostly clear 70 Friday night. I'm Alvin Washington, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California, KCAA. 102.3 FM, Riverside. 106.5 FM, Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM, Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is serving up some really cool ice cream at La Micho Acana. Then get your chocolates and other delights from C's Candies. Moms and future moms who visit the mall can cool off and relax while they get treated like royalty at Shiny Nails or Francis Nails and then pampered at Texture Hair. The Tri-City Center is filled with retailers who care about you. Shop at the Tri-City Center in Redlands and see why they call it the Mall with a Heart.
Life insurance is one of those subjects that many people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. That's why State Farm agent Joe Amlani in Redlands focuses on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call State Farm agent Joe Amlani in Redlands at 909-894-4619 and put the life back into life insurance.
Drivers, when it's time to visit the DMV, avoid the long lines and save time by calling toll-free 833-DMV-LINE. That's 833-DMV-5463. KCAA, where every day is a great day.
But I stood and listened to him anyway, okay? Said he didn't want to shoot that man, and it was his thing, and I wouldn't understand, and he had done all that he can, okay? Okay.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we're on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. That was a little bit of the Zac Brown Band, and that song is It's Not Okay.
Wasn't that Toby Keith, too, though?
No.
No?
No. No. It's one of the other guys in the band. It's not their typical singer. Obviously, the voice is different, but it's one of the guys in the band.
Really? Oh, I always thought that was Toby Keith joining them for a song.
No.
He sounds a lot like Toby Keith.
He's got that rich, deep voice like Toby Keith has.
Interesting.
So Trump has yanked Brennan's security clearance.
Yeah.
He's the former CIA director has made outrageous allegations. But here's the thing that strikes me. Why, once you've retired and left the federal service, do you have to have why do you take your security clearance with you?
They typically, as there are cases that they may have been involved with when they were there that they may need to be asked to come back in and consult on as new information comes in, and so they keep them sort of in line with their clearance in case they need to engage them on issues of national security on stuff that happened in the past.
So President Donald Trump is following through on his threat to revoke the security clearance of former Obama administration CIA Director John Brennan, a vocal critic of the president, the White House said Wednesday. Mr. Brennan has recently leveraged his status as a former high-ranking official with access to highly sensitive information to make a series of unfounded and outrageous allegations, wild outbursts on the internet and television about his administration. This is according to Press Secretary Sarah B. Huckabee Sanders. So basically, he's been very outspoken about the president, so the president yanked his clearance. And he served at the pleasure of the president.
Sure. And Trump definitely has a prerogative to do this. But what's fascinating to me is the genesis of all this. Trump is such a outlandish president and breaking all of the norms in just wild and weird ways. And so people are responding to him in wild and weird ways. And so in the past, I don't think you ever would have seen people like Clapper sort of speaking out against a president because that's just not done, right? That they basically keep their powder dry, and and there's sort of an unspoken agreement that we don't do that. But because Trump has been so aggressive in going after all these other folks and just making wild, outlandish claims about people, that the people who actually know, and I'm gonna say this the way I believe it, the people that actually know the truth about what's happening are standing up to the president, and Donald Trump can't stand to be confronted with the truth, so he's got to shut these guys down, and so he's taken away his clearances, and it's certainly within his right to do that. But for me, it's another sort of authoritarian type move, and it's another way to sort of shut down dissent and try to block out the truth. The president wants his truth, and I use that word loosely when I'm talking about the president, to be the only thing that people hear. And unfortunately, it's a large number of people out there that are very willing to buy into, this deep state conspiracy theory that all these folks, Democrats, Republicans, and all across the spectrum, were all working together to undermine Trump and do all these horrible things. I don't believe it. I think Trump is bringing all this on himself, and he's sowing chaos and undermining our institutions. So I'm a little upset about this, but certainly he's within his rights to do it.
So the other people that are being considered to have their security clearances pulled include former FBI Director James Comey, James Clapper, the former Director of National Intelligence, former CIA Director Michael Hayden, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and Andrew McCabe, who served as Trump's Deputy FBI Director until he was fired in March. Also on the list, fired FBI agent Peter Strzok, FBI lawyer Lisa Page, and senior Justice Department official Bruce Orr. At least two of the former officials, Comey and McCabe, do not currently have security clearances. Former CIA directors and other top national security officials are typically allowed to keep their clearances at least for some period so they can be in a position to advise their successors. Experts have said that stripping a security clearance in response to public criticism would be an unprecedented I can't say that word.
Politicization.
Thank you. What he said. It's forgive me. Or of the clearance process, and Democrats were quick to decry Trump's move. So the other thing is that it's precedent setting, right? Yep. And so if you're creating an environment where politicians are going after the civil servants who are left behind, and the directors really, that's a political position too. But the other people are not necessarily political positions. Peter Strzok, because he was fired, should have his just taken away because he was fired. I mean, that was, I don't feel sorry for Peter Strzok, but all of the other people, if it's not the norm, then there's no point. They're already no longer working for you.
Yeah, and it's just this. The craziness of it all, right? I mean, everyone just keeps amping it up, and it's just undermining all of these institutions. Who would want to be a leader of the FBI now? Who would want to be a leader of the CIA? Who would want to be a part of any of this And yet these are key positions that are essential for our national security, and we need to have good people in there that are not political, that are willing to get in and do this work and provide honest assessments to our president. But if you have a president who only wants assessments and only wants people that are quote-unquote loyal to him and everything else, sort of be damned, well, I don't know.
We live in interesting times. That's not necessarily a good thing.
No, sadly it's not.
So we live in times that will definitely make history books. So Tobin, you pick the next one.
So there's a story about these overdoses in a Connecticut park, and basically it was about a 3-hour time span, and they had 25 people that overdosed. And the story kind of hit me because, you might remember a few years back I helped to reopen a closed park in San Bernardino,
Mm-hmm.
and at that park we had a gang that would sort of sit out in front and sell their drugs, and we would call the cops on them and whatever. And these guys had a very sophisticated operation. It was very hard to sort of shut them down. And I see this stuff happening, and it's really kind of upsetting to me. And so in this particular story, it was a synthetic weed, so marijuana, known as K2, that they think might be to blame for the spate of overdoses in New Haven, Connecticut. At least 41 people reportedly overdosed at or near New Haven Green, which is a local park, between Tuesday and Wednesday, with 25 of those overdoses occurring in a 3-hour period on Wednesday. While no deaths were reported, a local official said that at least 2 of the overdose victims had life-threatening symptoms. The synthetic cannabinoid, K2, is often laced with other substances. So it's marijuana, but it's been laced with other things.
It's actually not marijuana. It's synthetic marijuana.
Synthetic marijuana, excuse me. And authorities believe that there was possibly an added opioid that may have contributed to the overdoses. Some people at the scene said that it was possibly laced with PCP, and authorities are awaiting the results of toxicology tests before making a final determination. The symptoms that people were experiencing include nausea, hallucinations, trouble breathing, and unconsciousness. And in some cases, patients improved after receiving very high doses of a drug, naloxone, that reverses the opioid overdose. They had actually administered lower doses at the scene, but those were ineffective. And so this whole thing is just it's kind of a mess. They did arrest somebody, a 37-year-old man who was known to police, and who happened to be out on parole, who they think may be the person I think that was selling it or something like that. But this just kind of hits me because I think that we have the potential for something like this to go off here in San Bernardino.
Oh, anywhere. Yeah, absolutely.
There are several sort of known locations where people go to get their stuff, and they literally sit around in the park and do their drugs, and I've seen it. And it's frustrating, and even when you have good people out there in the community that are trying to work with the police to try to catch these people, it's extremely hard to do, right?
Perhaps this is an argument for the legalization of marijuana, and I say this because, that people, when they couldn't get weed, they went into, and it used to, this spice and K2 used to be sold, at gas stations, and you could just buy it in a little pouch, and so people that have become hooked on the synthetic stuff, which is much, much worse, if they could just get the weed, then they wouldn't be getting the synthetic stuff, and all of the horrendous side effects that go along with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy into that. I'm always sort of view it as they just keep looking for the next high, the next bigger thing, and they just start with weed, move on to the next stuff. As they keep searching for the bigger, better deal.
So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker,
and I'm Tobin Brinker,
and we will be right back.
Every day is a great day at KCAA Radio. August 16th is National Tell a Joke Day. What would be better than a day filled with laughter? National Tell a Joke Day is observed annually on August 16th, and that's no joke. This day is generally filled with smiles and much laughter from morning till night as everyone shares their favorite jokes. The more jokes you tell, the more fun you will have, and so will those around you. For example, in a Catholic school cafeteria, a nun places a note in front of a pile of apples. "Only take one, God is watching," the note says. Now further down the line is a pile of cookies. A little boy makes his own note saying, "Take all you want, God is watching the apples." For KCAA NBC Radio, I'm Andrew Caravella, and this has been The More You Know.
Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you always tired and worn out? Is it affecting your work and personal life? Well, South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study of your sleep patterns. With their trained specialists, they will diagnose your sleep habits and will give you a prognosis for getting a great relaxing night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including Fontana, and will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. To find out more, give them a call at 844-SAD-5050. That's 844-SAD-5050. South Pacific Sleep Lab. Start resting easy and sleeping sound today.
Hi, everybody. Ray Lucia here with some important information about debt, your debt. Whether you have a first or second mortgage, you're looking to buy or refi a home or rental property, or just need to consolidate your credit cards to lower your payments and save some serious interest, you need to do some loan financial planning with Steve Alladort, my mortgage man, at loanfinancialplanner.com. Now, Steve's not your garden variety mortgage broker. He actually spends time evaluating how you can use the current super competitive interest rates to pay off your mortgage early, purchase a rental property, improve your cash flow, upgrade to your dream home, or even help your kids or grandkids get into a house. That's what loan financial planning is all about. Steve's been helping me and my listeners for over 2 decades, and I can tell you he is the best finance guy in the business. Go to loanfinancialplanner.com. That's loanfinancialplanner.com.
Or call Steve Alladort at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070.
This segment is sponsored by Tammy Sutherland of Coldwell Banker Kivett Teeters Realty, where she makes it her business to put happy people in happy homes. It's Tammy Sutherland's passion to list your house and put you in just the right house that you could call home.
She made so much extra effort to sell our house and make sure that we understood every step of the way. Tammy always had our best interests at heart.
I didn't think we'd ever find a house we loved, but with Tammy's help, we did. Now I get to mow the lawn every weekend. But then again, that's why we had kids. Hey, Tyler!
Tammy did way more than we ever expected in a real estate agent. Without Tammy, we would still be renting.
So if you want your perfect house, contact Tammy Sutherland at Coldwell Banker Kivett Teeters Realty in Yucaipa, across from Yucaipa High School. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, it's homesbytammy.net or on Facebook at facebook.com/Realtor Tammy Sutherland at 909-556-2094 for Realtor Tammy Sutherland, and we thank her for her support.
So, you didn't like that opinion. Okay, give us another 15 minutes. This is the station that leaves no listener behind, KCAA.
Just a bunch of poor boys, daddy's girls, children of the cornfield, trying to turn a shift job into a dollar bill. We wear the muddy boots, stay true to how we're raised, ain't nothing about us fake. You know we're straight out of that dirty south, dirty roads, nobody got no money, got to...
Welcome back. I'm Marion Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So San Bernardino County is in the process of doing their county-wide plan, and they are looking for input. They're having a series of conversations throughout the county to engage the community on various parts of the plan. The public will have a chance to review and weigh in on the components of the county-wide plan during a round of regional open houses in September. This will be the first time the public can review the draft of a policy plan that is intended to guide development and services countywide. Meanwhile, final drafts of the community plans, renamed Community Action Guides based on public input, which focus on the county's unincorporated communities, and draft land use map will be available for review. This is a reason why we call it a countywide plan instead of a general plan, said Jerry Blum, countywide plan coordinator. General plans are more focused on the development-related policies of the city or the county. Countywide plans go beyond that. In 2015, the county launched the efforts to create a web-based, comprehensive, complete county plan to focus on development policies, as well as health and welfare, human services, child welfare services, and other countywide services, such as court system and probation. The plan, an extension of the countywide vision created in 2010, primarily addresses unincorporated areas. County policies, programs, and services, however, can also affect incorporated cities and towns. So you'll hear an overview. If you go to the meetings, you'll hear an overview. You'll be able to review the draft documents, and county and consultant staff will be available to answer questions and talk with attendees on a one-on-one basis before and after the presentation. So the presentations are throughout the county: September 10th in Joshua Tree, September 11th in Newberry Springs, September 12th in Lucerne Valley, September 18th at the Hootman Senior Center in Running Springs, and September 19th in Big Bear, September 20th in Phelan, 24th at De Anza Community Center in Ontario, September 24th at the County Behavioral Health Department in Rialto, and on September 26th at the Yucaipa Community Center on Oak Glen Road.
I love that they're doing this. The city of San Bernardino went through this. We watched the school districts go through this. I think that periodically large government agencies have to do this. They have to really make an effort to reach out to the people that they serve, get their input on these important issues. And I know that in some of these areas, they're going to get a lot of engagement, because people have a lot of questions and concerns about the way development's done, about the way services are provided, and they want better.
Yes, and we at least people. I'm all for transparency. People want to understand how decisions are made, because you just hear about a decision being made. It's like, well, why did they choose X over Y?
Yeah.
Or why did they? Why is the money being spent this way and not that way? And people have a stake, because if and I'm just going to pull this out of the air. If you live in Rialto and you see that a bunch of money is being spent, in Phelan, you're gonna be like, why? We have more taxpayers here. We have more. And again, there's not an issue like that. I'm trying to just paint a picture, give an example. But so it's for the county to make itself available and to engage the public, I think is a very good idea.
I agree.
So for more information on this article's in the San Bernardino Sun, so you can check it out and get the dates. And I'm sure that there's, if you Google the San Bernardino County countywide plan, you will be able to find the project's website and get that information as well.
Yeah. Now, another story that I hope we get a chance to talk about today was this one about David Rothenberg. And I don't know if you remember this story. It originally started 35 years ago in Buena Park. And he was a young boy, and his father set him on fire.
I do remember this.
Right. And
because it was just so evil.
Yeah. And apparently he's died. This young boy, he lived to be 42 years old, and he just passed away. And the story really kind of is important. It says a man left severely scarred when set afire as a boy by his dad at a Buena Park motel more than 3 decades ago, who went on to befriend Michael Jackson and become a respected, optimistic Las Vegas artist, has died at the age of 42. An accomplished contemporary conceptual artist, David Rothenberg, until casting aside the last name of his father, was left with lifelong scars from his father's attempt on his life in 1983.
So if all the ways, first of all, it's evil to want to kill your son, but if all the ways you could have attempted to kill your son, you set him on fire?
I know.
What a monster. What an evil, satanic monster.
I know. It was horrible. And this kid is just, I remember him on the news even then. He was just a beautiful spirit. But friends say despite the betrayal and violence in his childhood that drew national headlines, Dave was a peaceful, empathetic, and loyal man who drew confidants from all walks of life. But to have gone through what he had gone through as a child at the hands of his father, and to lead a life as rich as he did and as creative and as caring and giving as he did, I think it's amazing, said Mike Watkins, a longtime friend of Dave's family, who spoke on behalf of his mother, Marie. In interviews over the years, Dave described himself as a survivor, not a victim. There's a lot that happens in people's lives, but that doesn't define them as a human being. It makes them stronger. A representative from the Clark County Coroner's Office on Wednesday confirmed that Dave died on July 15th at the Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas. The coroner representative said the cause of his death could take up to 6 to 8 weeks to determine. In 1983, Dave's father, Charles Rothenberg, took then 6-year-old on a trip to Southern California from New York, where the boy was living with his mother. The couple was locked in a bitter custody dispute, and Rothenberg had taken his son on a vacation with a promise of visiting the Orange County theme parks. After a phone argument with his estranged wife, the father gave his son a sleeping pill, set him aflame, and then walked out of the room, leaving other motel guests to drag the boy from the inferno. Rothenberg told authorities that he believed that he was going to lose custody of his son. I know, right? Dave suffered third-degree burns over 90% of his body. The burns and repeated skin grafts left him with lifelong scars on his hands, face, and legs. He says, "My father poured kerosene all over me and left me for dead and lit a match." And this was from a 2016 interview. "I wish there was a better way to tell that story, but it was reality." However, that hasn't changed me as a person, Dave said. "It has embellished my character and allowed me to grow in ways unexplainable to anybody."
You know, clearly he saw his son as nothing, as a complete nothing.
Yeah.
And what a monster. It's just evil. There are no words.
Yeah. His father was sentenced to 13 years in prison, which at the time was the maximum allowed. He only served 7 before he was paroled. And in fact, that relatively light sentence helped pave the way for stricter sentencing guidelines because, let's all be honest, he should have been in jail for a lot longer than that. And so this is this story just hits me because I just remember watching this when it happened at the time.
Because it was just so unfathomable that somebody would do this.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of the death penalty.
I'm not in favor of the death penalty, but I would have locked this guy up for life. I think that's one of those crimes where you don't ever get out again.
So with that, we're at the end of our show for today because I want to play a little bit of music.
Yay.
Everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thursday. I like Thursdays because we're gearing up for the weekend. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll see you tomorrow.